Hi, my name is Ella Austin, and I am a graduate student on the master's track for dietetics and nutrition therapy. And I'm in school full time, but I'm also a graduate research assistant, a GRA, with UCA in our nutrition and family sciences department. I guess an interesting fact about me is that my two roommates and I are all in grad school in different programs right now. So, my roommate Allie is in her doctorate program for occupational therapy, and then my roommate Gracie is in her master's program for speech pathology or speech therapy. Okay, so moving into the chapter, I would say that chapter 1 is really just a total overview of research, why we do it, the importance of it, and then also breaking down those really small, fine details that can get a little wonky and hard to understand. And so there were a few things that really stuck out to me. And the first thing is the comparison between qualitative and quantitative research. And the quote is, "People could get quite passionate about which of these methods is best, which is a bit silly because they are complementary, not competing." And that's something that I have never been told, but I really do see that competition when it shouldn't be competitive. I've always been told that quantitative is better than qualitative, but we must have both of them to be able to move forward in science and research, and to be able to get all of the information, because you can't always quantify things and information, and also some things don't need to be qualified. They just need to be quantified in a research study. And another thing that's, we've learned it throughout high school, college, grad school as well, but the independent versus dependent variable can also be known as the predictor variable and the outcome variable. So I liked that reminder. And then when talking about things that can impact or influence a study, the author mentioned tertium quid, a third person or thing to indeterminate, a third person or thing of indeterminate character, also known as confounding variables or extraneous variables or factors. And he went into much depth about how much you can or can't control those, which confounding variables you very much can't control. You can try to put them, I guess, in a box of some sort within bounds, but to a certain extent you can't control these variables. You can just try to keep them in a box as much as you can. And within these is unsystematic variation. And so the comparison between systematic and unsystematic variation was really important for me to understand, because it really showed where those variations come from. Is it coming from in the systematic, like having two separate groups of people and comparing the two answers or results? Their answers are going to be different because they're two different people, or many different people with different answers. But then the unsystematic variation would be like time of day, or for instance, in my research that I'll be conducting this semester, it's going to be comparing the answers of a course at the beginning of the semester towards the end of the semester. And no matter when I get it, hopefully the research and the results will be improving throughout the semester, because these students are learning. And so if there's a variation due to the time of day, or whether they missed a class, that's an unsystematic variation. That's something that's unseen. You can't account for that. And what ties into that are practice effects and boredom effects. And so with practice effects, it's stated as being participants may perform differently in the second condition because of familiarity with the experimental situation and or the measures being used. So in my study, the first time that the participants take the survey or questionnaire, they're not going to know what it looks like. But the second time they take it at the end of the semester, they are going to know what it looks like. And that could it could have some practice effects because they know what to expect, and also they've been through the course and they've learned some, so that might also affect the results. And then the boredom effects, I do fear that they might come into play with my study, because towards the end of the semester, students get more lax about what they're doing, and they're tired, they're ready to be done with courses, and so their results might be affected because they're just ready to get it done. They might not be the most accurate results. And that could go into the self-reflected and the self-disclosed results. That also creates a bias. And so those are some things that I pulled into my study and I kept in mind as I moved forward. Another thing that I had never learned about was kurtosis, or the peakiness of the results. And so he laid out the information so well in this chapter of like building upon it and being like, okay, if we're looking at the kurtosis, what about the mean, the median, and the mode within that? And so after that, he talked about the interquartile range. I've always heard about it, but specifically about how you can extract information without including those extremes. That's really important, because if you have a huge range, then it's gonna be affected. So you want to look at those median or those middle results to get that interquartile range, and I like that. And then he talked about the deviance, and it's the difference between each score and the mean. And within deviance, you can build variance, which is standard dispersion, or the sum of squares divided by number of observations, and variance leads to standard deviation. And so in the research course, I did have a difficult time understanding z-scores and standard deviation, like where those numbers were coming from, how do you get them? And this chapter really broke it down in a digestible way of, this is how you get this number, this is the specificness of it and the importance of it. And so I'm really glad that I read this chapter and that it was assigned, because it gave me a great refresher from our research course and how to move forward into our statistics class. So I guess the one question that I have for my classmates is, how do you see the information in the chapter that we just discussed? How do you see it applying to the study that you'll be conducting this semester, if you are conducting one? So yeah, thanks.